like as long as he's led there. Whoa, yeah, right. So, like, anyways, I think that this scene obviously is what so many people have been waiting for, and Brogan and we have talked about a lot to say, like, are we even going to get it? Are we going to get it this season? And they finally reveal it in the finale that Rhaegar is his father, and they even give Jon's true name, which is Aegon, which I think I was very shocked at. I don't know if there's any like passages towards that in the book or like actual nuggets to it. So
yeah, it's more complicated than that's just.
But it's name. What's weird is isn't that so? That was Rhaegar's first son's name was Aegon.
There are 6 Aegons at this point.
Wow. Okay.
So yeah, it's more complicated.
It's not helpful to go to the book on that one.
It's much more complicated.
All right, yeah.
So I love this reveal. And before we started this, I had mentioned to Brogan and John that I have a very big issue with this scene. I love it. I love the reveal. I hate how it felt so rushed. I was hoping for this scene for so long, and it just did not live up to my expectations. I know that the R plus L equals J theory has been out there the whole time, and we've alluded to it on this show, but God, Bran was just like, I need to tell him who he really is. He's not a Snow, he's a Sand. And then all of a sudden, Sam's like, well, that marriage was annulled, and the Maester did an official ceremony, and Bran's like, oh, let me check in on this real quick. And it just got really, really, I don't know. It just got really watered down for me, and I was slightly disappointed because I really wanted just a big reveal out of it.
And as somebody who I don't care on, I don't care. I'm not as a Jon and Dany fan, and I've been looking forward not necessarily to the whole show, but definitely the final, like, oh my goodness, we are meant to be together or get together, whatever. Bran narrating and the whole like zoom in on Jon's face and he is the true. I could have done with those two scenes being separated from like a directorial. I'm just saying, throwing it out there.
Yeah, I want to just totally agree with everything you guys are saying. This was the TV moment that I didn't need this week. Was we knew this. I don't want to say we knew this because we do a podcast on the show and we look into the theories and there's a general rule of thumb that we knew
what was going to happen.
Fans of the show that Jon and Daenerys were going to be related, right? And because of what we saw in the Tower of Joy, etc. So this was one of those moments where I was going to reference another show, but I know some of us are watching that show right now, and I don't want to say anything about it. So I'm not going to say anything about it. I'm just going to leave that as it is.
Which
Westworld.
Oh, we finished.
Did you guys finish Westworld? Did you watch Westworld?
No.
Okay, fuck.
turn it off. Oh, he didn't watch it. Yeah.
All right, so this is just one of those moments where I feel like they waited too long to reveal something that most people had already put together. And so it was just like, when you do it, you have to do it in a tasteful way. And I think they kind of got there. I think the way that they did this was more interesting than what I expected it to be when they intercut it with the sex scene with Kit Harington's perfect ass. I just want to say, man, that guy.
Did you think about that in the shower too there, Rogan?
Yeah, it was my first shower.
Can I just say,
Ass and
ass,
Dad ass on fucking Jon Snow, man.
Dude,
I'm
telling you, the producers looked at him before the season started filming. They were like, you got to do some squats.
Bro, while he was at that wall, he was doing nothing but wall sits, son. I'm telling you. Anyways, but like the way they introduced, I mean, that was cool, I guess. But for me, it was just like, give us something else too. Like, say that, but then blow our minds with like a revelation about it further or something. Where maybe Daenerys isn't who we think she is, or something where that kind of like, as the fans, we're able to start rooting for the relationship again for a whole different reason than we initially thought. For me, I'm just still so muddied on like cheering for incest.
I'm not. I know what I want. I want that.
So the question here, though, is like, is this like a TV problem and a storytelling problem, or is it like actually just like where we're getting to? I feel like people feel this way a lot at this juncture in television shows. It's been on for 7 seasons. We know a lot about it. If it's a well-written story, you should be able to put the pieces together. I hear you, but there shouldn't be any question marks, really. And what I would say is I think they gave us too many nuggets in this season again. Like, it would have been better if we don't get any of those nuggets, and then they made up and they're like, holy shit, Sam read it, or Gilly read in this book that they got annulled. Like, this is a big deal. All of that together.
They could have absolutely split it into, okay, he's the bastard child of Rhaegar and Lyanna, and then revealed that it was an actual marriage and that he was legitimate. and it made it maybe a little bit better. I don't know.
Could
it
have
was
been
just
more
like,
powerful if in the Tower of Joy when we first saw, like, if we didn't know that was Lyanna. Like,
Yeah.
if we could have maybe thought that it was Lyanna but didn't know that that was Lyanna. Like, this idea that maybe that baby that was born was Jon, but then start to question why Ned cared so much, why was Ned there, and maybe that would have led to...
The big reveal, and tell me if I'm wrong, John, sorry, I always put you on the spot about the books, because I never know.
Whatever.
But the big reveal, right, though, is that he's not a bastard more than anything else. It's not.
Yeah, I mean, that's not even in the books yet, as far as I'm recalling. And that actually is a huge deal. And, I mean, kind of what I was wondering at the end of the episode is, like, so we know Bran and... Bran, whatever. Bran and Sam are aware.
They're in
Winterfell.
Someone else has to know. I feel as if someone has to know.
Gilly, who
Gilly
found it
knows,
out,
but where is
didn't get
Gilly?
to
Probably
deliver
Winterfell
the
as well.
news. Which sucks.
But, like, who else knows? And, like, something this big could not have happened without other people knowing.
Yeah.
And then, like, Ned Stark. So this is going to be a tarnish on him at this point. Because, like, he knew.
I don't think that's a tarnish at all, and I will...
But he lied, and, like, Robert's Rebellion was based on a lie.
Absolutely. But think about what... Okay, so Ned Stark is the hands-down most honorable man, period, to his family, even more so than anything else. So, he knows that Robert's Rebellion is a lie. He can't tell his wife that he's not a dishonorable man and he cheated on her and he had a kid. He keeps this for his sister because he knows how important she is to him.
And
so he is like... He gets so many nods in this episode period that I literally wrote a note down in my phone about how he literally just like he takes the brunt of all of this shit because he's willing to be the scapegoat for Catelyn's hatred towards him, towards Jon, to lie to his best friend and go to war for him, to basically cover up for his sister and protect who is now apparently his nephew.
I do have to say though, we don't know for fact that Ned Stark knew that they were married.
Correct.
Right? So he knows who the true parents are, but he doesn't know that Jon is anything more than a bastard. I mean, I don't know that we'll ever find out officially if that's true or not.
Because the premise of Robert's Rebellion was that, hey, the Mad King needs to die.
I also want to
that might be justifiable.
Right.
I want to point out one other thing before I know we jump to what Brogan wants to talk about. Think about this. Back in season 1, when they're all on the small council with Robert Baratheon, they talk about the Targaryens across the sea, and Ned goes, "Don't worry about them. They're not a big deal." He knew, now we know, that he knew Jon's name was Targaryen and was protecting 2 of his family members. Boom.
Wow. Holy shit,
That's true, but I don't know. So we could spend probably the entire next 18 months talking about this.
For sure.
In and
So
of
we do
itself.
have one other call out from Eric C. too about all of the reveals that I
Eric
think was
C. from Washington, D.C.
Eric C. from Washington D.C. that blew my
Address.
mind, and I think from a lot of things we're talking about how slow seasons have gone in the past to how quick they're picking up now, that it's going to be the reason why the show's watched repeatedly over and over, even after it's over. When the Maester, right?
Castle Black.
Aemon.
Aemon, thank you. That was the name I was looking for. When he dies, there's a scene, he's dying, and Samwell and Gilly are with him. He is saying repeatedly over and over, "Egg, egg, egg. I dreamed I was an old man," and he's calling out for egg. And then he says, I believe a few other. You should really go back and watch this scene.
Yeah.
We did. It's fascinating. I think it's very interesting. I think there's the argument that could he have been calling out Jon's true born name. I think that there's, right, Aegon. I think that it's
cool.
moments
That's
like
good.
these that when we see these scenes and we think, did they really do it well enough? There's so many things they could have done that could have built it up to be better, that it really makes me wonder if we went back and rewatched certain things, would we have found different Easter eggs that in the moment we totally glazed over that would have made this build up even better? So I think it's a nod to how they've done a lot of the work they've done leading up to these moments.
Yeah, it feels like a Ward moment too. Like maybe somebody was in him and like seeing the visions, like Hodor, or even like we're talking about with the Mad King or the Night King. All right, let's motherfucking do it. Let's talk about him. The littlest of fucking fingers. Oh. And down
A plus for
goes-
usage on that one.
Thanks.
Down goes Fraser. Yeah, so, all right. Winterfell, we're going to encapsulate it. We're going to talk about it. I'm glad we got through all of that because I felt like that was honestly more important. I don't even know if we want to talk about the very beginning of this, but Sansa gets a scroll that essentially says that Jon Snow bent the knee to Dany, and she's very disappointed, and she's playing it off like we've seen this whole time, like a bickering older sister, like, and to Littlefinger, she's kind of like airing her grievances, like, how could this happen? He he's putting us in danger, etc., etc. And Littlefinger kind of plants some thoughts in her head, right? Doubts of Arya, or at least that's what we see essentially in this. And Littlefinger plays a game with her saying, like, I always assume the worst. And, like, what's the worst that could happen here, et cetera, et cetera. So then we jump later in the episode where Sansa summons Arya to the Great Hall. And they're surrounded by guards, and they get in this moment. And Arya says, are you sure you want to do this? And Sansa tells her in return, honor demands it. I don't demand it. And then Sansa lists off the fact that, you're being tried for murder and treason. And then she gives a little turn eye to Peter Baelish and says, Lord Baelish. And then everybody kind of like, oh!
So I think that was our reaction on the couches. I think we all started and we were like, oh, fuck.
There's some guy running
But-
around like,
the hype man.
The hype guy.
The hype guy's like, Sansa!
He's the guy holding everybody back on the basketball bench. But no joke. Nobody in that room other than Littlefinger is like, huh?
Yeah.
Everybody else is like stone faced.
Yeah.
Even Royce is
Man,
like
bro.
just looking at
It's
him
like
like,
before they got in there, like, guys,
luck.
okay, before Littlefinger gets in there, everybody, all right, so we're gonna do this whole thing where it's gonna sound like we're talking about it. but then
Happy
we're gonna all look at
birthday!
surprise, motherfucker!
Yeah, so we get this really cool reveal, and for me, and we talked about it last night, like, I was getting so frustrated with this dumb plot between Arya and Sansa, who are really smart women through everything they've gone through, and, it kept feeling like, all right, well, maybe Baelish, motherfucking Littlefinger, has one more, trick up his sleeve, and one more time that's going to happen, and I'm so glad that we get this particular payoff in this way.
And again, season 7 is 4.
The actors.
So the way that we saw Aiden
Gillum, I think.
Gillum go from shocked to negotiating to begging, all in the span of like a minute, was amazing. Like, we literally saw, it was like seeing
7.
5 stages of grief.
There it is.
Yeah, and we like literally saw him
Which
go
are a
through
lot,
that
so
in like less than 2 minutes, probably less than 2
It
minutes.
was awesome.
And he was just like, we saw Littlefinger's armor just falling off, and like by the end, he was just this scared man who was defenseless,
Scared little
and begging.
boy.
Yeah.
Scared Littlefinger.
Scared little finger.
I will say the piece I love about this is that Sansa was like, I'm not taking your shit. And she even says, and I don't actually agree with her despite that she says it, she's like, I'm a slow learner. I don't think she's a slow learner. She fucking like owned Winterfell after Jon left. And I am so impressed by how she carried it together. Obviously her and Arya together, they talk about how she was the sentencer, but Arya was the executionist. Or the executioner.
I think that was her saying to Littlefinger that you think I'm a slow learner, but I'm not.
I don't know. I feel like I could see the nod about that I'm a slow learner being. And again, we don't get to see the backroom conversations, but I think that there may have been a moment there where Arya did question Sansa and her motives, and I think Sansa, I could really see for her character with Jon being gone, her, we saw her walking through the yard, we saw her commanding everybody and being, a very strong lady of Winterfell, and I could really see her character being like, ooh, this feels really good, I could do this, maybe I could, and I could see Arya being the one to really rein her in and say, kind of shake her up a little bit. Oh, okay. I was like,
Podcast without Brogan. This is weird.
Whoa, guys. All right. So Brogan has left the room and left us all to our own devices right now.
To keep this going, to actually keep us on track, I think what's
Seth, bringing it all back.
I know.
But-
I'm just a buzzkill.
Point overall being
Oh,
that
Kendall's calling. Kendall's calling.
Madness is reigning right
Get
now.
on the pod.
Absolutely.
Put it
Yeah.
on speaker.
Okay,
Put it on speaker.
okay, Kendall.
Hi, Kendall.
Hey, Kendall.
You're on the
You're
pod.
on the podcast.
Live.
Brogan's gone to the bathroom and we've taken over the studio.
Oh, wonderful.
Give us some hot takes.
Yeah. What'd you think of the episode?
Did you get to see it? Yeah, you were
I
here.
thought the episode was great.
Thank you.
Kendall, what was your least favorite part of the episode?
How could you have a least favorite?
Probably that scene. No, my definite least favorite, and like by least favorite, I mean I hated it. Was the scene with Theon beating up that other guy for like, and him kicking him?
Oh yeah, the kick in the nuts.
That was
Oh, we
Or
did.
lack
Good,
thereof.
good,
That was
great
good.
call out,
That was
Kendall.
great.
We talked about Theon a little bit, but not that
But
much.
not that